Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the 2025 Ford Expedition Platinum and the 2025 GMC Yukon Denali. I borrowed the GMC from Randy Marion GMC, so take a look at their link down in the description below, along with the full detailed reviews that I've made on both of these models if you want to see even more impressions and all of the specs between both of these models. So let's start off with their MSRPs. For the Ford Expedition, they start right around $62,000. In today's review, we have a Platinum, which is closer to $83,000. For the GMC Yukon, they start around $70,000, and this model here is right around $83,000. If you add the reserve package, it bumps it up to right around $97,000. So there's a huge price range just depending on the options that you go with, and we do have a standard Expedition. This is not a Max. The Yukon is the XL, so it is a bit stretched more, just like you would see for the Max Expedition and vice versa. So I can at least show the space differences behind that third row. Now let's work our way to what powers these. The GMC has a few different engine options. This particular model has the 6.2 liter V8. It is paired to a 10-speed automatic, pumps out 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. The Expedition only has one engine option, the 3.5 liter high output EcoBoost V6, paired to a 10-speed automatic. It pumps out 440 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. Now both of these have a four-wheel drive system. You'll see curb weights for the Expedition at 5,600 pounds versus almost 6,000 pounds for the GMC. And of course that will vary depending on if you have the Max or you have the standard Yukon. 0 to 60 is going to be around 5 seconds for the Expedition, closer to 5.9 seconds for the GMC. And then as far as fuel economy goes, you're looking at 16 and 22 for the Expedition, 14 and 18 for the Yukon. And then for the towing ratings, right around 9,600 pounds for the Expedition, 7,800 pounds for the V8 for the GMC. And again, that can vary depending on the engine option that you go with. So as we move on to the exterior styling now for both of these models, you'll notice they have some pretty large grills. The GMC is definitely a lot larger, where this model has a forward-facing camera, there's all of the parking sensors, all of the LEDs as well, some gloss black accents, and even a sensor for the distance pacing, where this particular model also features Super Cruise, which is a nice hands-free option for this cruise system. And you'll notice some really nice lines that come down both sides of the hood there. Now for the Expedition, a lot more glass black up front, where you'll notice the headlight housings are integrated into the grille itself. This also has a forward-facing camera, all the parking sensors, and sensors for Blue Cruise, which is very similar to Super Cruise for the GMC. So you get the hands-free driving options there. And then you'll notice Expedition is stamped on the hood there, where there's also some really nice lines coming down the hood. So these are jumbo SUVs. They have a large presence to them up front, and some of the trim options and colors will vary just depending on what you go with. Now, for their side designs, this Platinum has a really nice design for these wheels. It even features red brake calipers. Now with the Denali Reserve package, this gets a set of 22-inch wheels there. You'll notice there's a GMC badge along with Denali for the side of the Yukon. There's no side badging for the Expedition. However, this does have a camera system along with the turn signal for the mirrors, and you get the same thing for the GMC as well. Now, both of these have a full moonroof. There's also roof racks up top. And then as we take a step back, they do have a much different design, but you'll notice just how large all of the glass is. And like I mentioned earlier, this is an XL, so you do have a little bit more rear cargo space, where you could also get the Max, so you get a little bit more cargo space there, or you could get a normal Denali where it's a little bit shortened. So you have a lot of options depending on how you are using these jumbo SUVs. Now, as we work our way to the back, this has the spoiler up top along with the wiper blade there, and then all the LEDs, backup camera, parking sensors, a quad tip, dual exhaust, which also has remote start. And this also has the option of opening up the glass independently. So if you have some smaller items, you can easily do that, or you can open up the entire liftgate, and you have controls on the key fob to operate both of those. Now with this XL, this is the amount of space that you have behind the third row. Again, that'll be similar to the Expedition Max if you need a little bit more space. There's some storage underneath, and the third row is automatic, both up and down. Second row you can fold flat, but you will have to manually put those back up. But super quick process in order to do that, just depending on what you are doing for the day. And then you have one control up top to easily close that lift gate. Now, as we work our way to the back of the Expedition, you'll notice same thing. Wiper blade is up top along with the third brake light and that spoiler there. Now, the biggest difference is that the Expedition, you cannot open up the rear glass because this model has a split tailgate. So you can open up the upper section of the lift gate, and then you have a lower section that you can fold down, very similar to how BMW has had that in their SUVs. Now, again, without being the Max, you can see the shortened space where you would get a little bit more if you needed some with the Max. Now, you get a little bit of storage underneath, and then you'll notice there's also some outlets in the back. There's also this area here that you can pull out, and you can actually rest this table right here on those sections there. So you can have another divider or an upper shelf if you need it. And you also have the option of folding down the third row from back here. Now, you can just push on the button and do it. You do have to have that second row out of the way. If you don't, that seat will go back up, but you can also fold down the second row. You will have to bring them back up manually, just like you saw in the Yukon there. And then you can get a quick access to some more controls for the seats, along with a little bit of storage there. And then you have one button up top that you can use to close both of those at the same time. You'll notice too, all the LEDs, backup camera, all the parking sensors, and then you do have remote start to start this up as well. Now, as we work our way to the interior for these, you get proximity door handles on the GMC, and then for the Denali, you get Bose for the audio, really nice wood trim accents, and then captain's chairs for this model. Now, you have controls where you can fold the seat flat, and you can also pop it up to get that out of the way. And then in the third row, this is going to be similar to a non-XL, where you have a good bit of space here, and at 5'10", I have about 2 inches or so of headroom. So this is a functional third row for adults to be in the back. You get a little bit of storage, you get an auxiliary, you have a control on the side, which will also flip up that seat there. So once it's in that locked position, that is how you can exit the vehicle. And then you can easily slide these up, and then you have a control to slide this seat farther backwards. Now, for this model, you'll notice there's storage pockets. There's also rear entertainment, so you can go through those functions as needed. And this center console actually moves forwards and backwards. I will show that because the control is located up top, but with it all the way back, you have better access to your drinks, your controls for temperature, fan speed. These are heated seats, and then there's auxiliaries down below. And there's also adjustable armrests. And I have about the same amount of headspace, but I can also recline this seat too, just to get a little bit more comfortable. So it's definitely very spacious for your second and third row passengers. As we work our way to the Expedition now, this also gets proximity door handles, and both of these have the power deploying steps there, make it easier to enter and exit. Now, this model has the Bang & Olufsen sound system, some really nice trim accents for it, and you also have captain's chairs for the Expedition as well. Now, in order to fold these seats down, you do have this control here, but if you pull on it again, it will not pop up. And that is because you can flip this back up and push this button by the headrest, and you can slide the seat forwards to get in. Now, it's not quite as large of an opening, but it gets the job done. Now, in back, you have a good bit of space, lots of legroom in between the captain's chairs. You have a little bit less headroom, however. At 5'10", I have maybe an inch and a half, if that, but I could still ride around town and be comfortable. You do get a lot more storage on both sides, and then you have controls here where you can actually recline the third row, so you can get a little bit more comfortable, which is nice to see. And then just a little bit different to get out of the way there, where you do have a grab handle, and then you'll notice there's dual pockets in the back. You have an area you can charge items. You get cup holders in the middle, your climate events, heated seats, auxiliaries down below, just like you saw in the GMC there. And then you can also recline these a little bit further back, where you do get a little bit more headspace for the second row, and there's a bar underneath to slide these forwards and backwards. So very similar in the second row here, just to give you a nice, comfortable place to be. Now, since I have the full detailed reviews, I'll go over the front technology fairly quickly. You have your window controls, side mirror adjustments, and then the power operating seats with the Platinum badge there. But as we start this up, we have a unique design for the steering wheel here with that flat top and bottom look to it. Now you'll notice with the controls on both sides, you just hover your finger on this pad and you'll be able to see what that control does on the gauge cluster. So you have volume, tuning, you can also get into your pedal and steering adjustments with this right side along with voice commands. And then on the left side, this is how you can get into your cruise and your blue cruise. Now on the left, there's the four-wheel drive selector here. There's also the rear liftgate, the e-brakes down below, and there's also a few different driving modes that you can go through. So just by twisting on that dial, you can get into all of those as needed. Now for the rest of this gauge cluster, you do have some information in the middle that you can adjust, and you'll notice the nav screen on that right side. Now in order to gain access to that, go to this lower section here, and this is how you can change that information. So you can go through all this information and pull it up within that, just depending on what you would like to see. Now for the rest of it, you have a lot of icons you can get into. There's a lot of features here that you can also monitor, and you have a split view too. Now in the lower section, this is how you can get into your heated and ventilated seats. You can also get into your fan speed, temperature dials. You can swipe these up too and quickly go through them rather than touching on both sides there. So pretty easy to be able to control all of that. You'll notice underneath that, there's the gearing, so you can do plus and minus and use the trailer braking system as well. And then this is how you put the vehicle into reverse. So you have the backup camera where you have a few different angles that you can get into, and then you can twist it into drive, and the manual setting will allow you to use plus and minus. Now there's volume next to that. There's auto start stop. You can get into the parking chimes. There's hazards, a shortcut to the camera system, traction control, and a downhill assist. Now you'll notice there's a good bit of storage down below. There's also wireless charging. You have the Pro trailer system. You can hide that all away. You have cup holders on one side, lots of storage in the armrest, and you can even move this forwards and backwards. So you can have all of that storage accessed, or you can hide it away and have the armrest a little bit closer. So just depending on how you need it, you have a few different settings. There's also the locking glove box. No digital rear view mirror, so you just have the one look there. And then there's some lights up top along with controls for the sunshade and sunroof and a sunglass holder too. And then here's a look at visibility. It's pretty easy to see. You have a lot of glass for this jumbo SUV, so it's really honestly not all that hard to view around. Now, as we work our way to the Yukon, you get memory seating adjustments, all of your window controls, side mirror adjustments there, and then power operating front seats. Now, we do have a much different design, more of a traditional look for the steering wheel here, where this has paddle shifters, you get volume and tuning adjustments, all of your cruise control settings, and then you do have some configurations within the gauge cluster here. So you have more of a normal view with the gauge cluster being right behind the steering wheel there. And then you have several controls on this side here. Again, I go over all this in the full detailed review, but you have the adaptive air for this. So you have a height adjustment. You have your camera system, parking sensors, parallel parking, your dimmer switch for the gauges, all the headlights, e-brake there. There's also one air vent. You do get a head-up display, and then there's also storage in the dash there. Now with this infotainment system, it's a little bit different of an orientation, but it's still going to go through all of this information here. So you have a split view. You can pull up your music, get into your maps there, and then you have some of these icons that you can easily get into and configure. There's also some adjustments underneath for all of your temperature, fan speed, heated and ventilated seats. Pretty easily laid out, much different than the Expedition, of course, but you have a lot of the same functions. Now there's also cup holders down below. You get some storage where you can hide that away. And you also not only have a large center armrest with hidden storage, but you can actually move this just like we did in the Expedition. So just a little bit different of a design, but you can work that as needed. Now you have a locking glove box. You do get a digital rear view mirror, which is very nice to see. And then you have controls up top to fold down the second row. You have the lift gate where you would like that to open to, and then you have some OnStar controls and a good bit of visibility as well. Now this also has a column mounted shifter, so you can use that to go through the camera system, where you have drive, of course, going down, and then park on the end of that stalk there. And then a look over the left shoulder here, you have a good bit of glass in order to see. So with the exteriors and the interiors wrapped up for both of these jumbo SUVs, let's get them out on the road and see how they drive. So we'll start behind the wheel for the GMC Yukon. With a slight acceleration, we can get up to speed here. For a heavy jumbo SUV, it definitely has plenty of power. And again, you can go with different engine options just depending on the power and what you are using your vehicle for. But for the GMC here, really nice design, more of that traditional view, especially with the gauge cluster and this larger vertical screen here. So just depending on your style and what you like better as far as the tech goes. Everything else, as you've already seen, is going to be somewhat similar. Just notice too, the hazards are also located up top there with the gauge cluster. But this is a really nice place to be. You have a good outlook for your visibility, really nice materials throughout, and a high seating position too. Plenty of headspace for your driver. I'm 5'10" and I have probably 6 inches of headroom with how the seat is currently set up. So it's a big vehicle. If you're looking for a jumbo SUV, you have a lot of great options with this GMC model. A lot of nice trim materials too, and just a great place to be. So not too much more to talk about with it. It's a great people hauler. It provides you with a really good sizing if you are in the market for something like this, and you have a lot of different options to go with depending on your budget and what you're looking for. But very comfortable with the armrest here on both sides. It's a great place to be in for daily driving and just racking up the miles. So let's hop into the Expedition now and see some of the differences. And so as we hop behind the Ford Expedition now, we'll give it a small acceleration. And just as you would expect, this will have plenty of power to get this up and move as well. And as you can tell, we have a completely different design for all of the screens, the steering wheel here, the placement of all of the technology. It's definitely much different getting used to this yoke style steering wheel like you would see in almost like an F1 car, just having that flat top design to it. But after driving this for a couple days, it's not all that hard to get used to. We just have much different design for the controls as well. So if you like more of that actual feel, seeing what the control is rather than having to look on the screen, that's another big difference with both of these SUVs. But in terms of how it drives, we have the same higher up seating position as you would expect. Very easy to drive and maneuver this for its sizing. Both of them are going to be something that you will get used to the more that you drive them, of course. But we have a very easy vehicle to drive and quite a lot of space, as you would expect. So we have a lot of similar tech features and just a really nice feel. And as far as headroom goes, I have maybe 3 or 4 inches of headroom where the seat currently sits, and it is a height adjustment as you would expect. So that way you can dial that in a little bit more. And so coming back to our final thoughts now between the GMC Yukon and the Ford Expedition. I've been driving the Expedition for the last couple of days. I think it's a really nice larger SUV. I think the GMC though has a lot more configurations and a lot more options if you are looking for some extra bells and whistles and you want some different engine options, things like that. You have a lot more ways that you can configure the GMC. Not to say that you can't do that with the Expedition, but you do have a few less trim levels to go through. All very nice though, just depending on which exterior you like, which interior you like better. We do have that new design for the steering wheel in the Ford. It's actually not that hard to get used to. I thought it would be much different having that flat bottom or flat top design to it. But both of these are really nice. So comment down below, which model would you go with and why? You do get a few different engine options for the GMC, which I think is a little bit more appealing, but we have some very similar features blended between both of these jumbo SUVs. So again, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I think it's a toss-up. I grew up with Fords. I didn't really grow up around GMCs. I probably lean towards the Expedition. It can tow a little bit more, but I like some of the tech features that are in the GMC. So it's a toss-up, but I think I would go Ford. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I'll see you all in the next video.